Well, howdy, back on the move again. Leaving Oxford. I'm still in Oxford, just walking up the street past the square, and then gonna go head out. This will be a short day because I'm leaving here at 12:30. So we'll walk through the square here, and then I think we're camping. There's a little tract of forest land we can get to. So here again's the old courthouse square. Get to see it in daytime now instead of nighttime when we got here. The old courthouse here was actually built in 1872, and that was as a replacement for the original courthouse that was burned down during the Civil War. So Oxford actually started in 1836, and the university was opened shortly thereafter, and they named Oxford for Oxford in England because they wanted to have it that university moniker name, so that it could be a university where people would come. And so University of Mississippi is here in town. You might know it as Ole Miss. And for those of you who know your sports or your authors, Eli Manning was from here, and Archie Manning. They're here from Oxford. And then also the author William Faulkner is the most, I guess, well-known author, as well as James Grisham. He was here for a while. So after the Civil War, like I said, the courthouse here was rebuilt, and a good portion of the town that had been burned down, of course, was rebuilt as well. And then the university itself developed, and not really much happened, just continued doing its thing. The next notable thing that happened here was in the early 60s, I think it was 1962, when the university was ordered to desegregate. And so the first black guy that came to register and attend, he was accompanied by quite a few hundred federal agents, including marshals and Border Patrol, and it became a big brouhaha that the next day they had to call in the National Guard. Eventually a couple people got killed, and there was some vandalism going on and all that. But it happened, and so now life goes on here. The town itself has about 25,000 people today. It's really a pretty cute town. Looks like it's well kept from the few streets that I've seen. And these guys aren't going to stop. Yes, they are. Okay. The houses are quite cute that I've seen, and so if you ever get a chance to come here to Oxford, Mississippi, it'd be well worth a visit. And so, like I said, I'm going to out in the forest. The forest comes down here, the boundary, a little bit northeast of town, and I'm just making this a short day. I might do just 10 miles, might just do 9 miles. Oh, there. She had that embarrassed smile because she was yawning. So I just need to get something some food to tide me over for tonight, and all through tomorrow, and then to the morning of the next day. All right, well, I turned off that busy little highway, and now I'm on this quiet little country road. See, County Road 225. It's going to take us into National Forest boundary. And if the forest is like this all through here. I think it'll be easy to find a spot to camp. And also, I think I'm going to make it a cowboy camp tonight instead of putting up the tent or the tarp, provided there's no mosquitoes. So I'm really glad that I chose to come this way. When I was there in the hotel taking the day off, I decided to change my original route. So I was originally going to just take the highway east out of Oxford, and then about 10 or 12 miles east of there, I would turn north and go onto little country roads. But I decided at the last minute I'd come a little bit north out of Oxford and then turn east, which brought me into this section here. So that I wouldn't have a whole bunch of from the highway. That's number one. And then number two, more options to stealth camp or disperse camp through this section here. Now the only drawback is that what's the drawback? Oh, is that there's no resupply in this section. So tomorrow, if I wanted to resupply by the evening, I'd have to do about 18 or 19 miles. Whereas if I'd gone the other way, I could have resupplied in the morning tomorrow. That's all right. Hopefully I'll find something like this tomorrow, because I only have enough water to get me through, probably tomorrow morning. If I don't find any water that was relatively clear water too. If I don't find any water, hopefully I'll have to find a knock on somebody's door, because there's a property scattered every now and then along this route. So, found a spot here in the forest. I only detected one mosquito on the walk up here, so I'm going to chance it. No tent. And I don't think I'm going to chance it with the dew as well. It's supposed to be pretty humid tonight, but see what happens. But I have a nice soft layer underneath me. That's nice, but the not too great thing is, I'm only about 40 feet off the road. But it's not a traveled road. I only saw one vehicle. So that'll be it for tonight. And I went further than I thought I was going to go. So I might only have about 18 or 17 and a half miles tomorrow. So good night from the Holly Springs National Forest. Well, good morning. What time is it? I think it's about 8:30. Got up at, had my alarm go off at 6. So we're, I think we have dirt here and there, but it'll be mostly county roads, I think. Maybe a little bit of a minor highway. 18 miles today. And actually, I don't know. I might need to stop short because I think there won't be anything to camp at 18 miles or after 18 miles. So we'll see. I'll make the food work. In the meantime, let's get moving. It's nice though that it's cooler now. I think it's supposed to be 74 today. It was about 40 last night. All right, let's get going here. Get going. I've really been impressed with this Holly Springs National Forest. Maybe part of it is because I haven't seen a single vehicle this whole morning. It's only been about an hour, and probably have about another couple hours, I think, to go through the forest and on the dirt road. But also, just because of the nature of it, just I like all these old growth trees, the way they're spaced out, and kind of just the undulating terrain. Really pretty. Have to come back here and explore sometime. Look, I just came across this here. So I guess the wildlife management area kind of intersperses in here as well. But it's got information on how to remove jawbones and stuff. And also people have to check in, hunters, for their permits and all that. But they also have the station here where you can hang up your kill to, like, I don't know whether it's to gut it or weigh it or whatever. All right, well, we're now back onto the Trans-American Trail, which most riders are westbound, so they'd be coming from this way and then going up that way. No, I'm incorrect. They'd be coming from this way and then going that way. And then eventually it drops down that way and then comes back up and then goes back and eventually and drops down again and then crosses back at the river over at Helena where we crossed. So we'll be on this, I think, for about a mile. And then the TAT continues that way, and then we'll just continue that way. Yeah, just came across this here cemetery right out here in the middle of nowhere. It's all fenced off, but it looks like some of those grave markers are from back in the 1800s. I would suspect there's probably some Civil War era stuff in there. And then just right on the other side of the road, this old country church, right out here in the middle of nowhere. I can kind of hear the singing, can't you? People coming to church. Probably walked here from the old shacks they had here in the area before this was even national forest. You know, I sometimes think that that's maybe a benefit of having lived back in that era, you know, back in the 1800s, 1700s. They didn't have all the modern conveniences, so everybody had to rely on each other. And not only did they rely on each other, but I think that also bred a sense of community. And the sense of community was not only just out of necessity, but I think too it brought about a sense of community just because of just natural goodness of people towards each other. Whereas today, you know, even in the rural areas today, I wonder if sometimes that sense of community is just, I mean, you do see it today in the rural areas, but I wonder if it's really not as much as it was back then, because today people have their vehicles, so if they need something, they go to town, just zip right on down. Or they've got electricity, they've got internet, they've got TV, they've got radio. And so today, I just wonder every now and then if we just don't have that. We kind of have an unwinding of society in a certain sense. Just my thoughts, you know. I've noticed from time to time today, generally on this northern side of this road, I've come across these signs here. Which are drop points for prescribed burn blocks. So I wonder if they're getting ready to do some prescribed burns in this area. Because generally speaking, this side of the forest has had more undergrowth than, well, now that I show you over here, than has this side of the forest. And if you come to think about it, I suppose prescribed burns are a pretty good thing, especially since we've gone through the history of extreme fire suppression in the forests through these past decades. And so I'm, from the evidence of a good number of forest fires that have happened, a lot of those fires have burned hotter, faster, longer, and further than probably they would have because of the policies of strict suppression. And I suppose once they do a prescribed burn through a forest area, then if there's ever any fires that start in the future, if they're natural, they just let them burn, and they'll only jump in and suppress if they are getting towards populated areas or going to do some structure damage or something like that. I think it's a good thing, you know. If it's a natural fire, let the fire naturally do its thing. Well, I don't know what's going on with me today. It's been 4 hours, and this is the first time I stopped. It's just like I've been zooming through the whole morning. It's 12:30, which is, it's a good thing. I only have 8.2 miles to get to that little store where I can resupply. But once I get to the store, then I'd have to go another 2 miles to find some privately owned woods that I could stealth camp in. So I have to decide whether I'm going to go 10 more miles today and stealth camp there, or pull up a couple miles before the store, because that'll be my last place to be able to stealth camp before the store. So there's like a 4-mile gap between places where I could feasibly stealth camp tonight. So I'm leaning towards the 10-mile mark, which will make today a 20-mile day. As long as I don't spend 2 hours here on a break. As long as I don't spend an hour here on a break. Let's see, 1:30. All right, on the move again. Did I say I was going to stay there just a half hour? Huh. Add an hour and 15 minutes to that. Oh, brother. Well, there's still a chance I can make the second stealth camp area in 10 miles. Otherwise, I'll have to try and do it at the other one in 8 miles. Oh, brother, oh, brother, oh, brother, oh, brother. And once again, we bid adieu to the Transamerica Trail, which heads off that way. It's been fun so far again. Thank you very much. See you maybe in Georgia. It's been a nice country road this past couple miles, maybe 3 miles. And all of a sudden, oops, what do we have over here? And then, take a look at this here. Looks like had a tree fall on this property at one time and couldn't rebuild, didn't have insurance maybe. I don't think we've seen a full-on hayfield like this since what, Arkansas? It's kind of pretty, huh? All right, now in a place, we're in a place called Hurricane, Mississippi. And these woods right here were the first ones I kind of had my eye on. And it looks like it would be doable. I'd have to really wait until night to slip in because you still can pretty much see from the road. And I think there's a house over there. But there's a church over here, so nobody would be on that side. The other one's about 2.5 miles up. It's either just before or just after Dollar General. So I think I'm going to try for that one because it's still got about an hour and 15 minutes till sunset. And that's probably how long it's going to take me to get there. Well, that was pretty nice. I just knocked on this guy's door over here. His house is behind that shed. His name is Marty. And he said, sure, you can camp in these woods. So I'll be camping in the woods tonight on Marty McLaughlin's property. So if everybody, and he said he's going to pray for me too. So if everybody could say thank you to Marty and return the favor of his prayers and maybe say a little prayer for him. And I got to pay attention to get in here. Let's see, let's go through here. What's funny is I was down the way over there, you know, coming towards this way, and all these properties say they're owned by Marty McLaughlin. So I came to the first brick house over there, knocked on the door, nobody was there. And while I was waiting for somebody to answer the door, across the way, I saw a guy in a trailer house going inside, and that happens to be Marty McLaughlin's property too, so I went over there just in case, and maybe that's Marty, and knocked on the door, and the guy looked at me kind of suspiciously, and I asked him if he was Marty or if I could camp in the woods. He said, oh no, Marty doesn't let anybody camp in his woods. He lives down the way. So that was enough for me to say, aha, I still got another house to go down. So once again, thank you very much, Marty. And I think I'll find a spot here without any brambles. And we'll be right over here. I'll have a nice, soft, cushy night tonight. All right. Good night. Well, hello there. And on the move before 8 o'clock. How about that? Thanks once again to Marty for letting me camp out in the woods. Let's see. Got 29 miles to get to the visitor center for the Natchez Trace. So I'll do that in 2 days. And it looks like on the map the logical place for today to camp is about 16 miles. So we'll see once I get there if maybe I magically find something maybe a little bit further along, so that instead of doing 16 and 13, maybe I'll do 18 and 11, something like that. I don't think that bus is going anywhere today. Probably not that car either. Well, I've got to charge up my battery, but I guess I can't go down there because there's no outlet to charge it up with. Now this is something interesting, and I can't figure it out. This is about the 10th property in about the last 10 miles that's been TP'd. And I mean, are the kids around here really active at TPing properties, or is this some sort of custom for Halloween or something? Anybody got an idea? I'm in a place called Ecru, Mississippi. Well, here's a sign that we're kind of getting out of the countryside and towards civilization. A big old Ashley furniture warehouse, manufacturing place. And I think we're getting closer to Tupelo, Mississippi. So we're gonna be having more and more civilization type of stuff. Although today, I think I still do have a couple of country roads kind of winding in between some towns and stuff. Now here's something I've been curious about in Mississippi. Whenever I've been on a state maintained road, they've always had this weight limit of 57,650. Why is it why is it a number like that? Why isn't it just a round number? Anybody have an idea? Well, that just worked out just right. Got to this little town called Ecru, 11 o'clock, and this little cafe here has a Sunday buffet. All you can eat for $12.99. Not bad. I got to sit and eat with the local guy. Howdy, Jerry, that's you. And he told me about how Ecru got its name. So when the railroad, they're building the railroad, was coming through, at the same time they're trying to think of a name of the town, and the Ladies Guild wasn't liking what was being proposed because they thought it was too suggestive a name of something. He forgot what that name was. So as they were pondering this, they were building the train station, the depot. It may have been here, I don't know. Maybe it could have been over here. Anyway, they were building it, the train depot, and they were painting, when they got to painting it, they were painting it this pale yellow color, and the ladies, they liked that color, and so they asked the railroad, hey, what's the name of that color that you're painting the train depot? and they told them it's called Ecru. And so the ladies go, well, that's what we're going to name our town then, is Ecru. Oh, and one more thing I wanted to say. This is actually to you, Jerry, if you're watching. When you were talking about the difference in the people between Mississippi, where you were living, and then when you moved over to Gulf Breeze, you're trying to come up with a word to describe the difference between the two areas, and we were searching around for that word. I said, is the word sophisticated? They're more sophisticated there in Gulf Breeze, and you said, that's getting on the edge. So now I've thought about it. Is it refined? They're a little bit more refined in the Pensacola area than there in Mississippi. Yeah? No? If you're watching, drop a comment. Let me know if that's the word you're thinking of. It usually happens a lot, right? When we're trying to think of a word and when we're in the situation we can't think of it, then afterwards it's like, oh yeah, that's it. And look at this. Not one, but two more houses that are teepeed. I've got to think that this is some sort of tradition around here, as opposed to just a bunch of kids doing stuff to a bunch of houses. Huh. So there I was, minding my own business, walking down the road, and guy stopped and said, "Hey, you okay?" And it's you, Matt. So he actually, we went down to a friend's house. His name is Nathan. And this is one of those nothing happens by chance type of things. You know, I've mentioned to you a number of times the purpose of these walks, right? And so this is one of those God-ordained things where people needed to talk to each other. Three of us talked to each other about different things. And so nothing happens by chance. Nathan, you too? And so there you have it. And then also, if you can, there's a couple people, Kelly and Kelly, if you can pray for them. They need something special right now. So anyway, I'm here in the north side of Tupelo. This looks like it's the newer side of Tupelo at the Walmart. Got to figure out my resupply for going up the Natchez Trace. So needless to say, I'm a day ahead of schedule now. Don't have to camp in the woods. And I'm going to go in here, figure it out, and I'll let you know what happens. Okay, spent too much time in there and got too much stuff. So I probably have enough food for 2 days to get me through one day. And I wanted some orange juice, but they don't have individual orange juices, so I got almost a half gallon of orange juice just so I could have orange juice. Now I'm carrying it. Oh, brother. And I've got 2 miles to get over to the campsite, and I'll get there right about sunset. Oh, brother. And it's really kind of a weird feeling to be here. I mean, for me, I'm smack dab in the middle of the city. All this hustling and bustling, as opposed to being a slower pace of little towns. Well, I'll be back in that the next 4 days at least, going up the trace. And I'll be looking forward to that. All right, found myself a little bit of a shortcut. This road is on the map, but it's closed down there. So it gets me up to the visitor center, provided there's not some sort of washed out gully up here, then that's why it's closed. Good morning. Can you believe I'm up and going at 7:41? I eventually found this bike camp. Kind of stumbling around in the dark. Well, not really, but I thought it was over there, which it shows on the map, but that was just a bunch of storage area for old trash cans and other kind of equipment. So I finally stumbled upon it here. So the plan is 4 days walking up the Trace. Trace, that's Kentucky, man. Natchez Trace. You can hear the noise right now. There's the interstate over there. And we're going to head over to the visitor center for a bit. I need to charge up my battery. And then eat something and we'll take off. All right, stayed at the visitor center there. A little bit too long. That's okay, because everybody's very, very nice. In fact, I think they have been the nicest visitor center staff that I've ever come across. I mean, all the other visitor center places have been pretty nice, but you guys, you know who you are. Very, very nice. Got my handy dandy map for the Natchez Trace. So we'll see some stuff along here, but I want to tell you something about it's you know, again, it's one of those history things. You know, when we're in school, we learned about our U.S. history, right? And for the most part, depending upon where we were living, you know, we probably came across the name Natchez Trace, or Natchez, Mississippi, at least. In passing, it was one little blip in what we learned about, say, the South or Civil War history or whatever. But where am I going with this? Where I'm going is I've just now learned some more history that I didn't really remember from when I was a kid. So I'll share some of it with you as we go along. The first tidbit is the Natchez Trace kind of developed over many years. It was animal trails, and then the Indians came along, did their thing, and then the settlers and stuff that came through here. But one thing that I thought was interesting, one of the histories of the Trace is that the guys from Kentucky, this is back in the late 1700s to the early 1800s, what they would do is they would build their flat bottom rafts and load them up with all the stuff that they've grown and everything, and come down the Mississippi River downstream to Natchez or New Orleans and sell all their stuff. And then they would break up their boats and sell the wood. And the reason they would do that is because their flat bottom boats couldn't make the upstream travel back up the river. And so then what they would do then is they would then follow the trace back up to Nashville. They would walk it back up to Nashville. So that was a 400, well, the trace today is 444 miles long. So So think about doing that year in and year out, right? You do your growing and stuff, bring it down the river, and walk back up. Do your growing, come down the river, and walk back up. And the people would call these guys the cane tucks. The cane tucks. So that's one bit of history, and then another bit of history is the War of 1812 with the British, right? After we got back New Orleans in the War of 1812, then Andrew Jackson marched his troops using the Natchez Trace back up to Tennessee. And then with the advent of the steamship, the riverboat, the cane tucks didn't have to use the didn't have to walk up the trace anymore, so they could still do their thing, coming down the river with their boats and their goods and all that. But then they would come back up on the steamships. So the trace over time started becoming less used and less used and less used, so that it wasn't as it started getting overgrown in places, and it wasn't this well-worn path in all the areas. And then fast forward, I think it was 1905, when it was a women's group. I believe it was it might have been the Daughters of the American Revolution. They got to organize and say, hey, we need to preserve this as history. So they started, there was a move afoot to start preserving the Natchez Trace. And then in the 30s, just think about this. You know, the automobile wasn't that old. And in the 30s, the Natchez Trace was then designated as a national park. And think about this. It's a national park that's 444 miles long. And on average, it's only about 800 feet wide. And I think they get over about 5 million visitors a year. So that's a very abridged description of the history of the Natchez Trace. And like I said, when we see some more stuff, I'll show that to you as well. And we're going to be on this for a little bit shy of 60 miles. Going to get off in Cherokee in about 4 days or 3.5 days. Or if I really burn it up, 3 days. And then it's from Cherokee, it's about 25 miles to through Muscle Shoals to where we're going to cross Tennessee River over the dam. And then after that, it's 50-something miles over into the Huntsville area. So let's continue on. Well, it's always fun. So I'm passing over U.S. Highway 45 right here. Good number of trucks. But it's always fun. You remember, some of you might remember this back in the day. Maybe I've even mentioned this before. Is that you would give a truckers that salute. A lot of times I do that when I'm going over the overpass. I just did that. I had a truck toot at me. Oh, them's was the days, huh? So we're at a place right now where we're going to be able to see a portion of the old original Natchez Trace that hasn't been paved over. So you know, when they paved it over, when they paved the trace, a lot of that original part is now, I mean, that's the original route, but it's a parkway. But this will be a portion of the old trace we can still see. As I mentioned, remember, much of the trace was pretty much abandoned by the start of the Civil War, but there were still portions of it that were used by troops to get from place to place and battle to battle. The Battle of Tupelo being one example of that. Now, along this section of the trace was buried 13 Confederate soldiers. The original monuments that they had to them had all gotten weathered, so nobody knows who these 13 Confederate soldiers are that were buried here. And these are monuments that were erected later by the National Park Service, so they just say unknown Confederate soldier. But the interesting thing, maybe you didn't notice this, is that the information, their names, or the unknown soldier anyway, is facing outward, so that people who were passing along on the trace could honor these soldiers instead of the names being over on this side here, because this is how they were buried, right here, like this, with their heads up here. And so, you know, typically on a grave, when you're buried, the name stuff and dates are all on this side, facing down the grave. Found that kind of interesting. But this is the old section of the original trace, and it's interesting to just kind of think about what it was like in those days. You know, just be walking through here, through all this woodland. Of course, you didn't have any automobile noise or no road. Just march, march, march. Or if you were the cane tucks, walking the 450 miles back up Tennessee. One nice thing about taking the slow path across country is you see stuff like this. So this is the guardrail of the bridge, right? But when you look at this here, you can see that at one time it was coated with something. It's not just a straight paint, but it's almost like a plaster-based type of paint, or maybe a liquid concrete or something. And so, I don't know, just thought I'd point it out. It's kind of interesting to see this kind of stuff. It's about getting ready to have another coat someday, huh? Oh, and then while we're talking about stuff like this, you know, in the old days, it used to be that they put these dots down on the road to delineate either the edge of the road or the center. Nowadays, it's usually a shaved-in groove. You know, you've run across those where they go when you drive across it. But still having these dots on the road. Just another one of those interesting observations. La 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 la. And I guess that speaks to what people ask me a lot of times is, well, how do you keep from going crazy, or what do you do to occupy your mind, or do you listen to anything while you're going along? Regarding the last question, no, I don't listen to anything, no music. no podcasts, no books on tape, never have. So, yeah, it's a lot of time of thinking, but it's also, you can only actively think so much. And so if your mind wants to think, you just have to turn off the active thinking and let it think in the background. And so then your mind just goes into observation mode, just to see, observation like I just showed you back here. The dots on the road, the coating on the guardrail there. Just looking at the forest. Not really thinking much about it except just observing it. Getting that forest bath, so to speak. And realizing that if I wanted to go to Nashville, it's still 195 miles. So just turning off the mind. I think for me, turning off the mind is very therapeutic and cleansing and recharging. I guess that's akin to the mind's way of fasting, just like to the body, fasting is a way of trying to get rid of all those pollutants maybe that are kind of going in, or they're I don't even know what I'm saying. Maybe that's what happens too, when you turn your mind off. You just start flowing out gibberish, you forget how to talk. What I'm getting at is, how when you fast, with a body fast, it's an attempt at getting the body back in line and getting out any of the bad stuff that's in there. And same thing with your mind fasting, is that you're maybe cleaning out the cobwebs, the old thoughts, the old fears, the old what you perceive to be bad experiences in life, and just letting the mind go. It also allows you to be able to listen, listen internally, listen even to what's out here. All right, I got about 6 miles further than I expected today. Thank you very much to Joseph. And I wanted to get here because this here, look at that pretty reflection too. This here is the 10-Tom waterway. And by the way, there's a parkway coming over. So we're coming from here going this way. The 10-Tom waterway, it's a shortened name for the Tennessee-Tombigbee. No, Tombigbee. The Tennessee-Tombigbee waterway. And what this is actually it's a canal, and it connects the Tennessee River, which is up, let's see, it's actually up and over that way, about 47 miles. It connects the Tennessee River with the Tombigbee River, which then empties out into Mobile, Alabama. And it serves as another waterway that boats can get from the interior of the U.S. down to the Gulf of Mexico without having to use the Mississippi River. And the interesting thing about this waterway is that in the mid-1700s, when the French were in control of this area, the guy that was in charge of Mobile, Alabama, for the French, de Bienville, so that, I think that was his last name. He suggested to the French government that a waterway, a canal could be built between the Tennessee and the Tombigbee to get to the Gulf. And then, as you know, the Louisiana Purchase came and the Americans got it. And then early in the 1800s, I think 1810, 1815, something like that, it was proposed to the Americans, by Americans, to do the same thing. Cut a canal between the Tennessee River and the Tombigbee. And so the Army Corps of Engineers actually started surveying it in 1827. And so it looked like it was going to be a good thing. And that perhaps it was actually going to get built. But then the railroads started coming into play. The trains were invented and started doing their thing. And so it was much more economical for railroads to do their thing, lay their tracks through the wilderness, and ship freight and cargo all through the vast area. So fast forward about 150 years, the Ten-Tom Waterway was finally built. I think it was started in 1972, something like that. And so now this serves as a connection from the interior of the U.S., the Tennessee River. I'll show you a map again as an alternate means of getting down to the Gulf of Mexico, so that those places that are served, say, south of the Ohio River, they don't have to get up to the Ohio River. They can just come down Tennessee River and then get down to the Gulf of Mexico this way. But the other reason that I mention this too is because I've been thinking about this for quite some time as maybe a future adventure to take you on. There's an adventure called the Great Loop. And the Great Loop is a route that you could take a boat basically up the Intracoastal Waterway, I think up to New York, and then from New York you cut in and up to the Great Lakes. And you go through the Great Lakes and down to Lake Michigan, and then you go down the Illinois River. The Illinois River, you catch the Mississippi, and then from there you can just ride the Mississippi down to the Gulf, or you take the Illinois River to the Mississippi, and then where the Tennessee River comes in, you can hang a left and go up the Tennessee to the Ten-Tom waterway here, and then take that all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. But instead of going down through New Orleans and the Mississippi River, you go down through the Tennessee, the Ten-Tom, and the Tombigbee down to Mobile, Alabama. So sounds like something I'd like to do. Of course, it's not a walking route, like as it could be, but I'm not going to walk 16,000 miles. Well, I could, I guess, right? Take 4 years to do it. So what do you think? You think you'd like to see a journey along the Great Loop route? Yes? No? Let me know what you think. And I'll put it on the list of things to do. All right, I've been hanging around here for a bit, and there's too many mosquitoes because I'm too close to the water, so I think I'm going to go about another mile, and hopefully I'll get out of the mosquito zone, because you know how much I like putting up the tent, right? And also tonight is not going to be as chilly, so our mosquito friends just might think they'd want to hang around all night. So let's see if we can get to a little bit drier spot. See, this is what I was talking about. A little bit too wet here. This little slough. Hopefully a mile for another one over here. Hopefully as we get a mile further, we'll get away from all this stuff. The reflections are pretty in the water though, right? All right, found a spot. You want to see it? Here we are. Right here in the forest. Quite pretty. A pretty sight to go. And I'm pretty close to the parkway, but there's not going to be any traffic on it. So, I think I got about 6.5 miles in the morning to get to a little convenience store to resupply. And then tomorrow, I don't know if I'll hold up at 13 or go to 15 or 16. At 13 miles is a state park where there's real campsites. But the only problem is I got to pay $17 for it. The reason why I'm thinking maybe going 15 or 16 miles is because it's, I think it's 31 miles until I get off the trace here. So right at the very end would be a good spot to camp before I get off the trace. And then it's a regular road, then I would walk into Muscle Shoals. That would be 26 miles, so I'd probably do that. I don't know. I'll have to see where all the people are. And then I'd cross the Tennessee River over the dam. All right, that's it for tonight. See you in the morning. Well, nice cozy place last night. And also, those crows and that hawk kind of made it feeling a cozy morning, right? Which has kept me from getting up because it's been so cozy. And you know, the funny thing too is that my logical progression on the next 2 days, I've got 31 miles to get to a campsite when I get off of the trace here. So the logical progression would be like to do a 16 and a 15 or a 15 and a 16. But by the time I get out of here, it's probably not even going to be 10:30. It's going to be 10:30. So, yeah. Oh well. I guess I'll start getting moving. Brother. But I'm telling you, it's just, for some reason, this has just been a really cozy campsite. I don't know why. And off we go. See you later, cozy camp spot. It's 10:45. Ah, boy. And you know, it's amazing too. Not regarding the time, but look at this. Just walking in this grass, this very short distance. Look how much dew there was. But being in the woods like that, no dew whatsoever. I like that. Yes, I do. And I might say today too is a little bit more humid. I can feel it because even though the air is not stifling, I mean, it was not hot air. It's warm air and it's humid. And I did look at the weather. The overnight temperatures are significantly rising over the next week or so. So, you know, I think I had 41 the other night. And in just a few days, it's gradually warming up to the upper 50s and low 60s as the low, which tells me there's a lot of moisture coming in, a warm front coming in, so it's going to be really dewy nights, I think. All the more reason to be camped out in the forest. All right, we're going to go down the embankment here and go off to a place called Dennis, even though that's not on the sign here. It's a couple miles, I think. Gonna go get stocked back up on some food, and then we'll rejoin the trace out there somewhere. This will be like a 4-mile detour. After a day of having been in seeing no house, you know, being not in civilization, so to speak, seeing no houses, etc. We're going to see a few houses up this way here. And also, remember how I was talking about yesterday how they had the bumps on the side of the road instead of the divots? Now that we're off national park land, we're on state or county maintained highway, we're back to the ground-in divots. Looks like that field's about ready to have its thing done. Cotton, cotton, cotton. There's your clothes. Guess I better get out of the road. There's a truck coming. The logs on these trucks. Well, now there's something going that way. The logs on these trucks appear to be nice and straight, so I wouldn't think they'd just use nice straight trunks. Not turn them into lumber, unless they're not lumber type of logs. Oh, you remember that commercial from the 70s?
I can't believe I ate that whole thing.
Take 2 Alka-Seltzer.
Alka-Seltzer neutralizes all the acid your stomach has churned out. For your upset stomach and headache, take Alka-Seltzer and feel better fast.
Did you drink your Alka-Seltzer?
The whole thing.
I can't believe I ate the whole thing. So I went into that little convenience store just to get a couple slices of pizza, and they only make full pizzas. So I got a full pizza and ate the whole thing. So I don't think I'm going to make it to where I was planning on making it today. So we'll just go wherever it is we're going to go. Anyway, so we're walking a couple miles back to the trace here. And I should say we're just, at this point, we're ambling back. And going to go a mile or so on the trace, and then a mile or so to the Tishomingo State Park, where I'm going to get some water. I'm not going to camp there. There's no reason to pay $17 for a campsite. And then from there, get back on the trace and probably just pull up early. Unless all of a sudden this all this pizza in my stomach just poof energizes me, and off we go. All right, back on the Natchez Trace, and we're back on this about a mile. Gonna turn off again to the state park, get some water, and then get back on, and then probably just immediately find a camp spot. Oh, that's pretty, isn't it? Which way is up and which way is down, right? That's Bear Creek. So I just stopped at the state park. Here, let me show you this picture of the tree tunnel there. That's quite pretty walking through there. So I'm going to cut it off a little bit early today. It's about 5 o'clock. So I just found a spot in the woods up here away from the water. Bear Creek there. I think there might be another creek up here. And I'll just try and get on some high ground and stay away from our friends the mosquitoes tonight. And find some nice tree cover to keep the dew off. And we'll be all set. Good morning from another cozy campsite. And when you hear the word cozy, you know I'm getting out of here after 10 o'clock again. So I was just up here on a bluff above the parkway. So got to do 15 miles I don't have to, but I don't have enough water. So 15 miles gives me enough water for today. But if I go a further mile and a half after that, there's a gas station where I can fill up. So potentially 16 and a half miles today. Otherwise, I'll have a dry night tonight. Although there is a spring called Cave Rock Spring. So if that really is a spring, I can maybe fill up there. But the water probably is kind of dirty because it's also a stop along the parkway for people to see. So, you know, that'll definitely be a water filtered source. Oh, and the other thing too, we'll be in Alabama today. About 4 miles just up the road. And we're in Alabama. Mississippi. You've been nice. Oh, Mississippi. That sounds like that movie. What was that movie? Rio Bravo? Mississippi, yeah. Hey, Mississippi. Okay. Da-da-da. Let's get going. Well, this is the first time I come across something like this here. That's quite pretty, huh? Those cutting through the rocks like this. Look at those nice fall colors. We got to Cave Spring, so let's see what this spring is all about, and if there's really water, and if it's clean. Well, bummer. There's our answer. Water's unsafe to drink. But it talks about solution activity. Do you remember when we talked about solutions last time? I'll give you a hint. It was on the second walk. It was in Florida, and specifically, it was in the Big Cypress Swamp. Ah, yes. Did you say the solution holes, especially on the last third of the walk through the swamp there? Yeah. So basically, apparently there used to be underwater caverns. And then over time, the water dissolved those caverns even more to create holes at the surface of the ground that would then eventually collapse. Now in this cypress swamp, there are basically little holes, so all of a sudden you'd be walking and all of a sudden you step in one. But I guess through here was a larger dissolving process and collapsed this cave into just a big impression here now, or depression. So let's see what this water is like down here. Look at that cave, huh? Watch your step. Wow, these caves are really cool. Or when I say cool, I mean as far as the temperature goes. Yeah, there's not really any water in here anyway. Can you hear it? Well, I can't even get to it. I get so close. The closer I get to the water, then it gets real muddy. Oh well. But it is nice and cool in here. It's nice to be out of the sun for a bit here. While I was up there, I met Ray and Amy from Arkansas. They're out here on a vacation. They're actually moving from southern Arkansas up to northern Arkansas. They said, hey, whenever you come by our place, come on up and stay a bit. So, Ray and Amy, better careful what you ask for or what you say, because I'll take you up on that offer. Maybe even sooner than you think. All right, took a break here, a long time. Waited for the hottest part of the day so I could get started. But it's nice. A little southeast breeze has come up, which is kind of mitigating the heat of the sun. Supposedly it's supposed to be 85, 87 today. But if this breeze continues, not only will it keep the sun maybe cool, it'll give me a little bit of a cross tailwind. Oh, and by the way, about a half mile, we're walking in Alabama. About another 10th of a mile to Alabama. I came across this Bear Creek mound here. Talking about how hunter-gatherers stayed only long enough to prepare their kill, and then other migratory people came through here. And this one's talking about how Mississippian-era villages were in this area. But this mound here was used as kind of like a spiritual temple type of place that they had on there. But I'm thinking about how this whole area as a place of abundance was, you know, and how life was so simple. They could just be in this area. They had abundance of fruit and nuts, fish, game to sustain themselves. And it's just a simple life. And I'm wondering if, sometimes I wonder if today's complex life is really what it's cracked out to be, you know? I mean, we can get to me anyway, I think we can get enough joy and fulfillment out of just the simple ways. Don't need all the modern convenience. Although it is nice to have air conditioning and heating, right? But that's just me, you know. After 3 walks across America and a couple of years living the van life, I guess simplicity has sunken in deep to my core. And just like that, we've come up to Bear Creek. And what does Bear Creek signify? It signifies that we've gotten to the Alabama state line. How about that? There you have it. Welcome to Alabama. Now, Bear Creek does not symbolize the border of the state line. The state line, as you know from your geography, runs north and south. And we're, for the most part, traveling northeast on the trace. So anyway, welcome to Alabama, everybody. And so long, Mississippi. It's been nice, even though we've been only there about a week and a half. That was the shortest time in any state. All right, here we go. Dun, da, da, da. Oh, the things I'm doing for you. I'm walking up this steep trail. You see I don't have my backpack on.